Mrs. Van Daan, Mr. Van Daan, Peter, Mrs. Frank, Mr. Frank, Margot, and Mr. Dussel. These people have been trapped, confined, forced to struggle in the one and only secret annex. This war has forced these 8 individuals into hiding and led to the ultimate challenge, getting along with each other. How will they cope with this less than ideal situation? Will they survive? Up first is the lovely Miss Van Daan. How has this outlook on life changed since you moved into the secret annex?
Well, let me just say my priorities have changed. Between the 8 of us in this hell of a hiding place, there's always someone yelling, whining, disturbing, or misbehaving. There's always someone disrupting the peace. Not that we had much to begin with. It's this war, this horrible war at the heart of everything. The war has changed our lives and corrupted our characters, and quite frankly, I don't know how much more of it I can take.
Well, that was okay. Who do you think contributes most to the conflict that occurs around the annex?
Oh, I, Petronella Van Daan, hate Anne Frank. Honestly, I'm appalled by her behavior. The child's ability to misbehave and act rudely towards her elders. Why, she might have been raised in a barn. Well, I suppose she has been raised in a barn. I certainly can't push all of the blame onto Anne. It's not her fault that those perfect parents of hers weren't able to give her the proper education the way I gave it to my little Peter. Now, Mr. Frank, he's a darling. It's a puzzle to me as much as anyone why he married a woman as awful as Mrs. Frank.
Excuse me.
Obviously, she's the cause of all this. It's her and her good-for-nothing daughter, mark my words. It's no secret that Anne and her mother don't have the best relationship. For goodness sakes, their shouts and bickering echo through the secret annex day in and day out. But of course, they aren't the only ones that bicker all the time.
Oh, well, okay. What do you find to be the most discomforting thing about life in the annex?
Oh, that's easy. Look at the state of the bathrooms, they're filthy. And the bedrooms, there aren't even any bedrooms. All anyone ever does is complain, especially my husband. Why, he threw out my old fur coat, like that's gonna do anyone any good. Honestly, no one cares what I have to say. I have opinions too, you know.
Well, why should they? Now that's quite enough. We're all working very hard to make this place livable. Well, all of us, except for you. All you ever do is complain.
Excuse me. I've been cooking for the 8 of us for every day for 2 years.
Moving on, ladies. Moving on. Clearly the subject you feel very strongly about. How has this outlook on life changed you since you moved to the annex?
I feel like my priorities have changed over time. The things that weren't as important to me before are important to me now, like my family, who are the only people I have left.
Okay. And how do you expect your life will resume after the war? What will you do first?
Well, that's easy. First, I'm to buy myself a new fur.
He was talking to Mrs. Frank.
Mrs. Frank?
Well then, I really don't know how our life will be after the war. I hope that we would be able to go on as before, but there will be more freedom for everyone.
And how do you feel about your relationship with your family? It has deteriorated? Has it deteriorated or developed?
I feel that my relationship with Margot has stayed the same. We have grown a little closer because she tells me more and spends more time with me. However, my relationship with Anne has deteriorated because I no longer feel she loves me. She resents my company, and when she talks to me, it's no longer than a minute unless we fight.
Mother, this is not entirely my fault. For many, many years, you have been on me, on and on, about all my faults and all the things I've been doing wrong. You've been trying to correct me, but I am who I am. You can't change that.
Shall we proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Yes, Mr. Dussel, how has this outlook of life changed since you moved into the secret annex?
Well, from being a free background and going to hiding because of my background, that's definitely changed and makes me wonder what the world has become.
Yes, quite understandable. Who do you like contributes the most to chaos?
Well, I believe it's Anne. She complains about my hygiene problems. And she also complains about everything I do and sharing a room with me.
He's gross.
You're annoying.
Now, Anne, don't be too impatient. I've got a few questions for you. Naturally, most to blame for the commotion is in the secret annex that's pushed on you. How do you feel about this? Do you believe you are at fault? Who do you think is the cause of this conflict?
In our secret annex, people have differences. Many, many differences. So many, in fact, that we argue nearly every day about the same topics with only slight variations. Lack of food, Anne, the war, Anne, the chores, and Anne.
You forgot Anne.
And Anne. I often feel that everyone is attempting to fix my faults, but their methods are absurdly ineffective.
Now, sweetie.
They constantly remind me that I should be more courteous. I mustn't criticize, and for heaven's sake, would I simply be quiet? Our main problem in the annex is that everyone has strong opinions, and they are determined to prove that they are right, and everyone else is in the wrong. You see, Mrs. Van Daan here believes very strongly that she deserves to have her own way. When she concludes that she isn't receiving adequate attention, she accuses us of being rude. Mr. Dussel is also quite picky and disagreeable. He must have his way. Mr. Van Daan is similar in that he is often disagreeable with his wife, Mrs. Van Daan. However, they usually make up shortly after. Peter is very quiet when in the company of anyone other than myself. The same is true of Margot, although I believe she is rather more open with Mummy and Pim than Peter and I are. As for my parents, most of the time they defend me when I am directly accused, but sometimes Mummy is the one with negative commentary on my behavior. Pim, my father, is very sweet and rarely goes against me in a disagreement, but has been known to have a calm but firm role in many an argument. In all, I see this general conflict as being caused by everyone. We all have our own opinions, and when they clash, issues are created that involve the entire secret annex, and this high level of involvement makes them much more difficult to resolve.
Impertinent!
Ladies, please. Let her speak. Anne, I consider you to be the most optimist out of the inhabitants in the annex. How do you manage it? Has your outlook on life changed since you arrived to the hiding place, or are you sunny as ever?
Well, first of all, I would like to clarify that I'm not always as optimistic as everyone believes I am. Outwardly, I try to maintain a cheerful shell, but on the inside, I am hurt by every small dart and arrow of criticism that is pointed at me. I believe there are two main reasons that I am cheerful in the times that I am. First, I am simply cheerful by nature. It is a part of who I am. Secondly, I'm constantly searching for the beauty in life, the little things that make you smile and make you glad you're alive. The majority of these little things I find in nature, or the divine sliver of it visible through the bars of my hidden prison. These things remind me that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, when one only remembers to turn on the light.
So you see, despite the conflict, and although being an optimist is rather difficult, all the members of the annex have pushed on. Through the life they go, and although one day perhaps meet a sticky end, that day is yet to come. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today.
We'll see you after the war.
See you after the war.
I'll see you after the war.
See you after the war.